All right, guys, welcome back. Today we are going to be showing you how to take your recently built, or presumably recently built, Bullcraft HPA 240 gearbox and drop it inside of your 240. How to pull out that old AEG gearbox shell and replace it with this one. So if you have just watched our video showing how to put our gearbox shell together, we're basically picking up right where we left off. So let's go ahead and get right into it. First of all, very obvious, noticeable difference here. This 240 has been converted to run 249 mag, so that is the only major difference here. That shouldn't change the process of pulling the gearbox out of this gun. That's just one thing to notice. Actually, it's just one extra step that I'm going to have to take compared to if you didn't have that. Go ahead and remove our barrel here. As you can see, this gun has been completely swapped out with Bullcraft parts. So Bullcraft outer barrel, Bullcraft carry handle here, little prototype button we're working on there. So next thing, I'd like to pop off the dust cover. So just remove that pin there. Go ahead and remove that, get that out of the way. Next thing I like to do, pull our stock off. So there's just a latch on the bottom of the stock right here. So you'll go ahead, slide that back, slide the stock up and out. There you go. This gun is getting smaller and smaller as we go along here. Last thing you need to remove is grip module. So pin here on the back of the gun. Pop that out. This whole thing will move out on its own. And then for this gun, we can go ahead and remove our box mag here. Set down what we have left. Now that we are left with a mere husk of a 240, we can go ahead and start getting into actually removing the gearbox from the gun. So if you have our 240 mag adapter, first thing I would remove, go ahead, just loosen up the two screws on the bottom of that. Don't have to really do it too much, just enough so that the T nuts will swivel out of the way, up and out. Next up, there's a big Phillips head screw right here on the right underneath where the grip module was. Go ahead and remove that. Then on the left-hand side of the receiver, you have these two flathead body screws. Go ahead and remove those. So once you have those removed, this bottom plate here will just slide back and up. Then you have two options. You can either remove the two screws that are holding in the bracket on the front of the gearbox shell, or you can remove the two screws holding in the motor cage. I'm going to go ahead and remove the two screws holding in the motor cage first. This gearbox does have our prototype 240 motor cage on it, so that's why it may look different than the one that is already in your gun. This thing is subject to change for the actual production version. This one's not even close. As of the time of recording this video, our motor cage is not available, but that might be different by the time you're watching this. So that is something that you're interested in. Make sure you go and check our website and see if that's something that we have available or not. So with those screws out of the way, just like that, gearbox just drops out of the top of the gun. So slide it forward and out. Make sure none of the wiring gets caught on anything. And would you look at that? You have a nice, beautiful baby 240 gearbox. So you can look at it, do whatever you want with it. A few things you may need from this gearbox shell, depending on when you're watching this video. This front bracket piece. If ours is not available by the time you're watching this and you're putting your gearbox shell together, you will need this from your stock gearbox, or if you just didn't want to buy ours because you're like, I'll just use my stock one, that's perfectly fine. are working on a replacement if you do happen to have one of these that is broken. So just be on the lookout for that. Back here, trigger switch. We do have the option on our website to purchase a extra trigger switch if you don't have one or you just don't feel like taking the one off of your stock gearbox shell. But you could also just reuse the one from your stock gearbox shell and just solder on the appropriate wires to plug it into your HPA setup. So a few things to be aware of there. So let's put this aside and start moving on with installing the HPA gearbox. So from this point forward, we are essentially just going to be working in reverse. I'm going to remove the FCU here so we don't have so much extra wiring for no reason. We're just going to be working in reverse installing this. So this should be a lot easier just because there's not as much extra space going on here and all that. It's not as big of a gearbox shell as the old one, so should maneuver around in there a lot easier. Just push the wires down in there a little bit. Cool. All right. So one thing you want to be aware of when you're doing this, in the back here, you have these two, we'll call them channels. When you are routing this through, you want to make sure the airline comes through this top one, airline and whatever battery electronics you want, because the trigger switch and all that is going to sit right in here. And if you try to force all of that past the trigger switch, you're just going to run into issues trying to get it to sit in the gun properly. Just go ahead, drop that in there. So make sure we fish our line through the proper channel up top. Boom. And then just set it down in there like so. Start lining up our stuff. Go ahead and start screwing in what would have been the motor cage screws when you had the AEG gearbox in here. So those two screws at the back of the receiver. And lastly, you can go ahead and screw in two screws that go into the gearbox bracket here. There's one. Then there's two. Cool. So, your gearbox officially installed in the gun now. So we can go ahead and start putting all the external pieces back together. So we're going to start with that bottom plate. So we're just going in reverse order of what we did. If you go to try to push this on and it's not lining up properly, these two little metal clips here up at the front, right behind our handguard here, those do stick up a little bit. So potentially might get in the way of letting your plate there slide all the way forward. Drop our screw down in there. That was our Phillips head. And we can do our two flathead screws here on the side. So then we can go ahead, put our mag adapter back on. Go. Go ahead and reinstall our grip. Put the big pin back in. There we go. Reinstall our stock. One thing that's neat about what we've done with our stocks for the 240 and most of the LMGs, we have dedicated routing for airlines. So instead of having to drill a hole in the side of your gun or something, we have them there available for you guys. So there you go. And now that we have the mag adapter back on, go ahead and set this thing back up on its mag. Alright, so while we still have this easily exposed, connect our FCU here. Go. And then, so now you have all this extra space in your 240 here. So this would have all been gearbox. Now it's all just open space. So you can either fit, so you can fit battery, whatever here. If you have a buffer tube of some sort, either from us or from a different company or some other way to run a battery externally on the back of your gun, you can run an extension back here, like so, just deans to deans or whatever, so that you can relocate your battery to the rear of the gun. Let's see how well I can fish that through there. Probably not very well without seeing. So that goes through the bottom hole. Actually, is. There we go. If we pop that off, boom. There you go. That's another option right there for you. You can run your battery through your buffer tube and then have your FCU up here if you need to adjust it or anything in a place where you don't have to worry about your FCU getting bumped because it's not in a super cramped space. Don't have to worry about the button getting pressed in on you in the middle of a game. I don't know why I took the stock all the way off to show that. We have butt pads for these. You can just pull the cap off to get to your battery. Go ahead and do our dust cover here, feed tray, all Bullcraft parts here. Something I like to do when doing this is start feeding the pin through as you get stuff try to get stuff installed. It'll just make life way easier for you. Yep. Just route our mag wire up through here. Like so. There's that. And then last thing, just have to go ahead and get our barrel set back in place. Boom. And just like that, you have successfully installed our 240 gearbox inside of your 240. If you guys have any questions about installing our 240 gearbox inside of your 240 or setting up your 240 HPA gearbox, whether if your engine's compatible, if there are any electronics that you need that you might not have, any questions like that, just let us know. Same thing with our 249 gearbox or the Stoner 96 gearbox, all that good stuff, just let us know. If you guys are interested in seeing guides for those gearboxes, like what we've been doing for the 240, please let us know. And if you guys are interested in picking up any of these parts for yourself, for your 240, your Stoner 96, Stoner 63, 249, PKM, any of that goodness, head over to bullcraftindustries.com, and I will see you guys next time.